Hey friends, welcome back to Thriving in the Unknown. As you'll remember from our first video, there are three categories of things that we are taking a continual inventory of as we navigate this COVID crisis together. Those three categories include looking upward, looking inward, and looking outward. Today we're going to focus on the outward category as we discuss social connection during social distancing and self-isolation. We've talked about how the enemy is pretty smart and he's also very chaotic in his attacks against us. And we must admit that a global pandemic is a very crafty attempt to rob us of our joy. The alarming spread of a virus requiring quarantines and social distancing and self-isolation is really a spiritual attack on our very design as relational beings. God designed us for relationships, and He designed us to enjoy our community. Yet this virus requires that we draw back from the ways that we love to interact with each other. So whether you are an extrovert, you love being around people, that's how you get your energy, and you are stuck self-isolating at home by yourself. Or maybe you're an introvert and you enjoy that time alone. That is what energizes you, and you are at home quarantining with your family of 4. It's likely that this social distancing is creating problems for us and for our relationships. But friends, I want you to take heart. I want you to remember that social distancing does not mean social disconnection. It only means that for a time, we are going to have to be more creative as we connect together. So, as we have worked to rearrange our lives, to regroup and reestablish our routines, we also need to take an inventory of how we are connecting to others. So today, I want to give you a list of tips and ideas for connecting with people inside your home and outside of your home during this time. So if you will, grab your notebook and a pen, write down your favorite ideas that we share today, and then continue this list with other ideas that you have and things that you have seen others doing. So let's start with nurturing those relationships inside the home. If you're quarantining with other people, here are some ideas that you can use going forward. The first one is to be sure that you are balancing structure and nurture. It's important that we keep working towards a helpful routine, but that we're always prioritizing the relationship. It's so important to create an environment and atmosphere of safety at home while the outside world feels a little uncertain and unsafe these days. Now, this one is especially important if you're quarantining with kiddos. The next idea is to make sure that you're creating quarantine memories. Make sure that y'all are having regular game nights or working on projects together. Make sure it's not all work and no play. Develop some fun memories from this quarantine together. Build forts, play games, watch movies together, go outside on a walk or play a game outside. The next idea is to make sure that you are limiting conversations about the coronavirus. This is especially important if you have kiddos at home or if you are dealing with some heightened anxiety about the coronavirus. Dr. Caroline Leaf suggests choosing a specific space in your home where coronavirus conversations are allowed. But then be sure that you're not talking about the coronavirus in other places of your home. So not at the dinner table or not in the bedroom or not outside in the backyard. Limit it to a particular space and maybe even a particular time. And that way, all of the conversations aren't geared towards what's going on in our world and just kind of heightening fear and anxiety about those things. The next is to determine and to practice each other's love languages. If you're not familiar with love languages, do a Google search for a free assessment online. Figure out the best ways that you and your family members receive love, and then make sure you're practicing. Make sure you're filling each other up and give your family or those that you're quarantining with a chance to help fill you up. The next idea is to practice reflective listening. So especially as conflict arises, and that's inevitable when we're spending more time together and we have a significant stressor on our plate, make sure you're sitting down to talk about that conflict and listen to each other well. Let one person share their perspective of what's going on, and then you repeat that back to them. You can say, I understand that what you're feeling is this, and lay out exactly what they have said. Give them a chance to clarify or modify so that you get a full understanding of where they're at, and then switch roles and put yourself in each other's shoes and understand where the other person is coming from. The other part of that same tip is to give each other the benefit of the doubt. We are all responding to a stressful global pandemic, and we need to give each other the benefit of the doubt that we are out for each other's good. The next idea is during those times of conflict, remember that the repair is so much more important than the rupture. So as ruptures happen in our relationship, those things are not fun and they are hard to navigate. However, make sure you're taking time to intentionally and meaningfully repair that relationship. When we get hurt by someone, it hurts. But when they work to repair that relationship, it only builds trust. So remember, give yourself grace as you are repairing the ruptures that are happening in your relationships these days. Finally, and we've been alluding to it this whole time, give grace upon grace. Give yourself grace and give others grace. We have a significant stressor on our plates, and we are all reacting in different ways. And so as you are in relationship, as you are going about your days and your weeks being quarantined with people in your home, make sure that you are being flexible on the rules and being flexible on the routine, because we all need a little extra space these days. Now, in addition to nurturing those relationships at home, I want us to focus in on relationships outside of the home. And when I talk about outside of the home, I don't only mean your people, your extended family, or your best friends. I also want to encourage you to keep on your radar your community, your neighbors, maybe people that you know might be especially lonely or hurting or vulnerable. So here are some tips for those groups of people. First, make sure you're regularly checking in on them. It doesn't have to be every day, but make sure it's a part of your regular routine. When you can, use audio visual tools. So you can use something like Zoom or Skype or FaceTime. There's just something about seeing each other's faces and having a conversation where you can see facial expressions, you can see emotions. There's just really something about seeing each other as we're having a conversation. If you're lacking for conversation points, maybe you can make these 3 questions part of your regular conversations as you're checking in. So those 3 questions might be, what is the best thing that happened to you today or this week or over the weekend? Find out what went well for those people. Then ask the opposite. What is the worst thing that happened? What's something especially difficult that happened over the day or the week or the weekend or since you spoke last to this person? And then the final question might be, how can I encourage you or serve you, or what ways can I pray for you? As our brains are a little scattered these days in conversation, again, because of a significant stressor on our plates, sometimes we need a little help with that conversation. And those are 3 great questions to get the conversations going. I want to encourage you to get creative as you're reaching out. So maybe you send someone flowers. Maybe you purchase a gift card and mail it to someone or drop it off on their front porch. Maybe you send a handwritten note. You know, in the mail these days, we're usually receiving catalogs that we might toss automatically or bills in the mail. How fun is it to reach inside your mailbox and to see a handwritten note from someone that you know and love, or even a stranger? How fun would that be? So I want to also encourage you to be looking for opportunities to serve your neighbors. Maybe you drop off one of those handwritten notes with cookies or maybe even a roll of toilet paper for a laugh. Maybe you offer to help meet a need. You leave a card or even make a phone call to a neighbor or someone in your community and see if they need a grocery run or if they just need someone to chat with because they're especially lonely. Or maybe you can set up a chair in their yard, a safe 6 feet away from them, and have a conversation. Everybody's going to have different needs, and there are some needs that we can meet under our social distancing guidelines. And then finally, I want to encourage you to just set a goal for who you're going to check in on and how often you're going to do that. Let's be consistent. Let's be people that can be counted on and can be trusted in difficult times. So friends, I hope that these ideas and tips are helpful. I want to encourage you to keep adding to your list with ideas that you have or things that you see others doing, and let's keep nurturing our relationships in a time where it looks very different from our usual relationship connectivity. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time.